Hey everyone, welcome to episode 3 of Just V Show Chat with me, Ben Corbett. It's been a week of great change across the country, from the weather to new rules about what we can and can't do. But in the meantime, in this time of great uncertainty, I'd like to tell you one thing that you can rely on. I'll be here every Friday at 1 p.m. to talk all things vegan, vegetarian, and plant based. Of course, I'd rather do it in person. Let's do that in London in the autumn. You can get your tickets in the video description below. But what the flip is happening today? We made a promise to you to bring a fresh and diverse range of guests and content, and after a visit to Jack's Urban Farm, a foodie Q&A with Romy London, and next week's tofu cook-along with Copperconfetti planned, you might be wondering what we're missing. Well, a chat about vegan beauty, of course. So I'm delighted to introduce to the virtual studio vegan beauty girl herself, Nicole Whittle. Hey, Nicole.
Hey, hello.
How are you doing? Thanks so much for coming on.
Oh, that's okay. Any human interaction really right now.
I think that's what we're all craving, right?
No, it's a real honor to be asked. Thank you so much.
No worries. Thank you. So first of all, I guess, for those that don't know your work, could you start by telling us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Yep, so my name is Nicole and I'm better known online as Vegan Beauty Girl, and I pretty much help people shop vegan and cruelty-free beauty. And yeah, it's mostly that I've been vegan for just a bit over 12 years, and I think 7 years in, although I wanted to be shopping completely cruelty-free, I was still finding it just so difficult. And it's a lot more complicated in the beauty world because terms aren't as regulated, and I just wanted to be there to help people who wanted to make the right choice actually be able to.
Okay, cool. And so I guess I would ask a little bit of expansion on that. So about your journey, what made you focus on beauty products? Because obviously there's quite a lot of influencers out there that are vegan influencers or food influencers or animal welfare. Like what made you want to focus on vegan and cruelty-free beauty products?
I think part of it was that there were so many people doing food, but I think it's because it was what I was struggling with the most. So when I was kind of like at that 7 year mark of being vegan, yeah, I couldn't say with complete certainty that everything I was buying beauty wise was cruelty free and vegan. I was thinking, God, if I'm putting all this energy and time into trying to be making the right choices, but I'm still struggling so much, then there must be so many other people feeling the same way. And a lot of the sort of influences that I could find at the time that were talking about beauty were all in America. So everyone was just talking about US products and we didn't have them available here. And I thought that it would just be helpful to kind of start a journey, and somehow it's just grown and grown and grown. And yeah, it's been quite exciting. It's so cool to see how many people care these days and how many people are just aware that their products might have animals in them or that their products might be tested on animals. So it's great to see so many people just try and make better choices.
Okay, cool. And coming from, I might be doing some attempting at mansplaining at this point, so please slap the screen if that's the case. Is there a difference when you use the terms sort of vegan products or cruelty-free products, or are they sort of two ways of talking about the same thing?
Yeah, I mean, to most vegans, they shouldn't be different terms. Like when I look at a vegan product, I wouldn't really, honestly, in my heart, consider a product that is vegan to be tested on animals. But sadly, as far as the beauty industry goes, when they call a product vegan, that just means that there are no animal-derived ingredients in there. Whereas cruelty-free means that it's free from animal testing. And I think that's one thing that really frustrates me, because brands will put something like plant-based or vegan on their products, knowing that people are going to make that connection, like, oh, this must be kind to animals, when in reality it's maybe tested on animals. So that's why you also want a product that is cruelty free. But vegan's very black and white, so either it's got animal derived ingredients in it or it hasn't. Whereas cruelty free, there isn't actually a very defined term on it. So different companies will use different language to get around this. So some will say they're against animal testing, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they would be good enough to be cruelty-free certified. So it's I think cruelty-free is where people have the most trouble, because different people, different organizations, just everyone seems to draw the line differently. So yeah.
Okay, interesting. So where do you go about finding the information that you need to make sure products are cruelty free or?
Yeah. For me, I like to Google it. I think that is always like my first response if I'm looking to see if a brand's cruelty free, because I would evaluate at a brand level or even a parent company level for me whether or not a product's cruelty free. But I'd say the very like standard is looking at a brand and seeing whether or not they're cruelty free. And I would Google it and see what some of the leading cruelty free bloggers have to say. I would never trust a company's FAQ page. A company like L'Oreal or Unilever or the big companies, pretty much, they will find ways to twist language to make you think that they are more ethical than they are, and say that they only test on animals when there's like a legal requirement, which is code for they will sell in China where animal testing is required, whereas a truly cruelty-free brand would not do that. So if you go on to a webpage from one of the leading cruelty-free bloggers like Logical Harmony, Ethical Elephant, Cruelty-Free Kitty, they will really break down so you can look and see whether or not the product is something for you. So for example, they might say, oh, it is certified cruelty-free by PETA, but they are owned by L'Oreal. So you can make up your own mind there. Whereas if you just see something certified cruelty-free by PETA, you don't really know what the parent company is or if there's anything else to go alongside it. So if you want a fuller picture, definitely Googling is the easiest way. Or you can write to the brand yourself if you can't find any information online.
That's interesting because it sort of seems like almost there's almost different levels where people decide where they want to draw their line. Do you know what I mean? Like, is a product cruelty free? Is the parent company cruelty free? Is it cruelty free in every country that's being used? Like you say, it sounds like it's a much more sort of grey area and needs a lot more research and needs people to sort of decide where specifically they want to draw their line and the stand that they want to make personally.
Yeah, I think it's just very important. Like for me, I always try and be very transparent about it. So whilst I'm not really supportive of companies owned by parent companies, I won't ever say that a brand like Bare Minerals is not cruelty free, because like Bare Minerals kind of are, but then they're owned by L'Oreal, who aren't. So I'd say I wouldn't buy them. I don't consider them to be cruelty free, but others do. And I think it's just important to kind of explain this whenever you're talking about a product, particularly when you're in a space of influence, just so that reading has the opportunity to make their own decision on the matter.
Okay, cool. Okay, well, just moving on to the obvious question that I sort of have to do with everyone at the moment. How's lockdown affecting you? Is it sort of changing your day-to-day life, or are you having to compromise on anything that you usually would expect to get really easily, or anything like that?
Lockdown's been a big change for me. I was actually meant to be traveling Europe this summer. It was going to be a wonderful, wonderful time. But I was house sitting for my aunt and uncle in Essex. They were off traveling Asia, and I was kind of like saving up money. And then they had to come back early. I had to get out, but I couldn't go to Spain, which was my original plan. So I've ended up moving to my sister's, and I'm in her spare room, which is very nice, to be honest. As far as compromising goes, it's been all right. I've been quite lucky. I've been really surprised by how much vegan food my sister and her husband eat. They never used to. They've been together for I think 14 years, and I turned vegan when I was 13, so I spent like all of my teenagers trying to convince people to go vegan. But obviously, when you first go vegan, you're quite militant about it and just saying, oh, you know what that is on your food, right? Like on your plate, that's dead animal. It didn't help anyone. But then they ended up doing like Veganuary this year, or I think they may have just done it like veggie wise, but they've just become very vegan friendly, and we're eating a lot of the same meals, which is really nice. And what else? And she's been following my Instagram for a long time, so I think slowly her like bathrooms become a little bit more cruelty free and vegan friendly as well. So it's not been as bad as I thought it'd be. And also I was able to change my Riverford. I get a zero waste veg box from Riverford, and I've been able to move that across to over here. So that's been really helpful as well. So typically, no, it's not been too bad. It's just been very weird. I've got a completely different life, living in a completely different place. But on the whole, I think it helps just that I've got so many beauty products stockpiled, and I'm finally getting through them all. So it's actually been quite a nice detox for me to not be going past like Superdrug every day, not being going to these PR events where you get gifted stuff, and it's kind of giving you a chance to step back and reevaluate really how much you need to be going out and consuming.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are sort of feeling that detox, other than the fact that we all still have access to social media all the time. I think, like, lots of us sort of not going out and stuff, and a lot of people spending time with their family and stuff like that. I think that's really good. It's also interesting what you were saying about how sort of easily and readily available vegan and vegetarian stuff has been, and that people around you were perhaps using it more than you thought. And I wonder whether it would have been as easy sort of 4 or 5 years ago. I do feel like sort of vegan, vegetarian food and products have gone so much more mainstream, particularly in the last couple of years. Veganuary and stuff like that's really sort of blown up. And I think, like, in a lot of ways, I think people are really, really lucky that it's happened now, as opposed to in the world that we lived in a few years ago. I don't know if you agree.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah. That is a really good point. Imagine this like 4 years ago. That would have been so different. I must say, I am missing the Greg's vegan sausage roll. I'm probably gonna beeline for that once this is all over. But yeah, no, that's crazy. And it's like every supermarket is catering for vegans as well. It's not like a gamble where you are living. It's just very helpful that so many places are now creating food for us. But there are lots of online places as well that are doing some really good delivery services. Like, I've just put in an order this morning for One Planet Pizza. Have you tried their pizzas?
No, I haven't.
No. They're like zero to landfill, and they're vegan, and it's like a father-son duo, and I just ordered like 5 pizzas off of them earlier, so hopefully I think that's coming next Tuesday. So it's been nice to actually be in for all these deliveries, but taking the time to support some vegan businesses right now when it's easier to stay at home and easier to engage with online delivery. I'm quite enjoying doing a bit of that.
I reckon I've had more deliveries in the last 6 weeks than I've had in the previous 6 years before that, to be honest with you. But talking about stuff being readily available in supermarkets and sort of high street stores, sort of brings me on to one of the questions that one of our watchers has asked, one of our viewers. They've said, have you got any particular sort of products that you would recommend that people can get on the high street or in supermarkets, or like readily available places where you don't have to go to like a specialist store?
Yeah, so as far as supermarkets go, I know that both the Co-op and Marks and Spencer's have some products which are Leaping Bunny certified. So if you look out for that, then you know it is cruelty-free. And I think Co-op are reasonably good at labeling their vegan products, and M&S as well, reasonably good. Otherwise, online you can find lists. And then in Aldi, that's our local one, a lot of the Lacura beauty range is suitable for vegans, and that's also certified cruelty-free. So you can find a vegan list online if you Google it, but they've also got a new range out which is labeled vegan. But sadly, these supermarkets are kind of catching up to labeling all their vegan products vegan, which is quite annoying. One company that's been doing it really well for so many years is Superdrug. They've really kind of led the change on vegan beauty. So I think I've got on their products right here. So on the back, it will say, I don't know how clear this is, but it will say like suitable for vegetarians and vegans, and it'll have the like cruelty-free bunny as well. So if it's not vegan, it'll just say suitable for vegetarians or nothing at all if it's sadly not. But I find that really helpful, the fact that they label it on the back of every product.
Okay, yeah, that sounds cool. And obviously looking out for that bunny is a good tip then for looking out for cruelty-free stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's I don't know. So yeah, the cruelty-free international bunny is, but there are also some companies that really exploit that. They'll put like any old bunny logo on it and say not tested on animals, and then the consumer will assume that's a cruelty-free certification when really it's just a self-given logo. So make sure it is the cruelty-free international logo. And PETA also have a logo. PETA aren't as they're not as strict with what they would call cruelty-free. So I think that's something to bear in mind, that Leaping Bunny is kind of like the gold standard, whereas PETA, there are some weird things they do. Like some brands that sell in China, they've now allowed to be cruelty-free, like Dove. And for some cruelty-free bloggers, that's not right, because these products can still get taken out for post-market animal testing, even if they're able to avoid the pre-market testing. So that's another logo to look out for. But often, if you see a logo like that on a brand and you think it's too good to be true, I would recommend doing some further research. If you think, oh, Dove's cruelty-free, or oh, Herbal Essences is, then maybe just do a quick Google and double check, because there might be more to the story.
Okay, cool. Another question from the same person. It was asking, what are the best no plastic products that you can think of that are out there? That's sort of the sustainability and environmental side of things.
Yeah, my favorite place is definitely Lush for things like that. I just think they are worlds apart from everyone else. They have so many plastic-free products, and even the products which are plastic that come in their little black pots, that is not virgin plastic. It has been recycled. It's part of their like closed loop black pot system. One of the biggest issues they have though is that not enough people return their black pots. When you've got 5, you can return them and you get a free face mask. I really do recommend doing that, but well, obviously after lockdown. But the plastic they use is kind of closed loop plastic, so it is a reasonable option. But as far as solid products goes, you can go for, they've got shower gels now which are plastic free, which are actually really good. They've got shampoo bars, conditioner bars. I still don't like conditioner bars. I'm one of those people. But what else have they got? They've got foundation. I've recently done a review of their slapstick foundation over on my YouTube, and it's really good. I really like it. And what else they got? They've got a lot of makeup now, which is package free. They've got the lipsticks, which are refillable, which are really good. They're such good quality. So I think that will be what I'm buying going forward with any lipstick. And yeah, they've just got so much. And if you go into their stores, it's just like a little treat. It's just incredible. What have I got? I just got like a hand button from them, which was plastic free. So I've got like this, which is just like a hand moisturizer or massage thing. And I've got a lot of bubble bars through the other day as well. So bubble bath as well. They're just great. I love Lush.
I mean, we were chatting the other day. You know, I'm a pretty big fan of Lush myself. But if we were going to say, I guess as we're talking about specific products, I was going to ask you. So, if you were stranded on a desert island and you wanted the animals that were there to think that you looked lovely, what would be the 3 products that you would take with you if you could only have 3?
Yep. Okay. So I've actually surprisingly not got any Lush products in here, which will stun you. But I thought I'd have to take SPF. So this is like facial SPF, and it's got UVA and UVB protection, and it's also it's reef safe. So I know that the fish would like me because I wouldn't be damaging their habitat if I use this. And it's just important to wear SPF every day, whether or not you're on a deserted island. I've also got this scalp tonic from Superdrug, which is just like the best product you will ever find for under a fiver if anyone suffers from like sensitive scalp or dandruff. So when the weather's hot, I get quite bad dandruff, or at least I would if I didn't use this. It's just a really good tonic that you put on your hair after you've washed it, and it just keeps your scalp really healthy. So I wouldn't be without that. And then last but not least, I would take a lipstick with me. This is a Charlotte Tilbury one. I will replace it, I think, with a Lush one once I'm done, but it's just like a nice brown color. Not all of these Charlotte Tilbury lipsticks are vegan, but a lot of them are, and she's recently released a refillable collection as well. I think I've got one of those here. So the refillable collection, it's not as good as the Lush one, but it's a lot simpler. So you kind of just take out this and you can replace this bit rather than the whole lipstick. Whereas the Lush lipsticks are a bit muckier. But I think the good thing about having a lipstick is that you can use this as a blush as well. So you can put that on your cheeks and blend it out, and you can also put it on your eyes. So I'll be able to get a lot of use out of one beauty product there.
Do you want to know mine? I'd only take one.
What would you take?
I would have to take R&B from Lush, which is the hair moisturizer, because I use it in my beard, and I've tried a million other things because you couldn't actually get it for a couple of months, and I tried loads of other moisturizers and stuff. There is literally nothing like it. If I don't use it, my beard feels like a dry bush. It's horrible. So I would definitely take that, just so when I'm sitting there stroking my beard, considering philosophy on the desert island, that it wouldn't feel all horrible. So that would be mine.
Yeah. I've got the goddess one. It's like the same sort of thing.
Yes, very similar.
Smells so good. Yeah, I love that as well. It makes my hair go curly, and I really like that. Yeah.
Nice. Another question that's come in is asking for a recommendation on BB creams.
Oh yeah. So my absolute favorite for like a lighter coverage would be this Rosalique 3-in-1 anti-red formula. I nearly had this as like my desert island pick because it's got SPF 50, and it's also really good for treating like red skin. So whether or not it's something you suffer with naturally or something that you get kind of when you've been sunbathing, it also matches your skin tone. So it comes out green, and then it kind of blends out to reduce redness, and it also has really good coverage. I've just done a review of this one on my YouTube too, but it's just really good for like skincare meets
Okay, cool.
foundation. So that's my favorite BB cream. Otherwise, Her Cosmetics do a really nice one. I don't have one of those with me. I think I ran out. So, but they'd be worth checking out. That's PUR, and you can find them at M&S, but their shade range is very small. So I wouldn't recommend it all the time just because of that. Yeah.
I guess another thing that I would ask that's really specific to what's going on at the moment, a lot of people are wanting to sort of do nice things and interesting things to their hair at the moment. There's a lot of people at home who would usually be at school or at work who couldn't get away with dyeing their hair perhaps beforehand and stuff. So are there any specific products or any sort of specific bits of advice you'd give for people that want to maybe color their hair at home at the moment during lockdown?
Yeah, so I've actually just done a post on my Instagram over at Vegan Beauty Girl of like 5 different hair care brands you can try out during lockdown. And one of them that I would really recommend is Bleach London. They are vegan and cruelty free. And if you want to try DIY at home bleach kit, then that will probably be your best bet. But personally, I'd recommend to try to avoid bleach. That can go really wrong. So if you feel a bit intimidated by it, you probably trust your instincts and don't. Otherwise, you've got like Manic Panic. A lot of people were recommending Directions, which I haven't tried myself. Umberto Giovannini. I always say this wrong. It's one of those things I only ever read, never say. But they've also got some box dyes. Then you've also got Tints of Nature, and also Lush have their henna, which is for dark shades, but is package free and zero waste.
Okay, cool. And just to round off the questions before we get on to Romy's question from last week, is there a specific question that you feel like you get the most? What's the thing that people ask you the most?
I feel like I don't actually get like that many questions. A lot of people send me messages asking if I'll join their pyramid schemes, if that counts. But
we had a couple of those actually when I put out the post asking for questions for you. There were a couple of people that said they really liked our dress sense and wanted us to represent their company. I'm not really sure what was going on with that, but I don't know.
yeah, a lot of those. I think mostly I get a lot of requests for very like specific products, often foundations. I'd say people are like, this is my skin type, what foundation would you recommend? I think foundation is one of the things people really struggle switching with. And another one would be deodorant. People, especially when they're trying to go natural as well as vegan, people struggle with deodorants, and it's frustrating because everyone's different. Everybody reacts differently to deodorant, so what works for me might not work for everyone, but I'm always giving advice anyway. But yeah, foundations was one of the big ones. So I ended up starting a foundation review series on my YouTube. I did like a whole week of wearing a different foundation. I think I was at home in lockdown and I realized I had enough foundations for every day of the week and then some. So I've just done quite a few different reviews just so people can see how they wear throughout the day and what sort of skin type they're good for. I'm lucky to have combination skin, so I can test out like oily and dry and normal skin all on one face. So that's one way it comes in handy.
Okay, nice. We've just had one more come in, and we're assuming that you wouldn't be using it yourself, but as being part of the community, could you recommend to Raj the best men's vegan skincare product or range? Is that something you know about from sort of being involved with the community?
Personally, I would probably go for Lush if I was a guy. I think that Lush have some really great men's products, and a lot of men wouldn't know that Lush did a lot of great products for men. So I would say that would be a good shout. I know Superdrug have a men's range as well. And then there's also Bulldog. I'm not sure Bulldog's parent company is cruelty-free, so I double check that. But I know that's a really popular brand. It might even be like the most popular men's brand, and it's really incredible that they're vegan and at least them themselves are cruelty-free. So that's quite cool. I think M&S as well. I think M&S do some really good men's toiletries, and especially if you're like a fan of Dermot O'Leary, I think they've got some like Dermot branded toiletries which are vegan.
Nice. Okay. Cool. I'm going to ask you. So we've got something going called the question train. So everyone asks a question that gets then passed on to the person from next week. Now I know that you know Romy, so I feel like maybe she's trolling you slightly with this question. So Romy's question for you was, what was the last thing you ate before you became vegan?
Yeah, I thought that as well. I was like, what is she talking about? I do not know. It was so long ago. God. Do you know what the thing is? I remember, so this was probably like 2007, I'd say, when I went vegan, and no one knew what it was. I didn't know what it was. I was like Googling PETA to try and figure out like what more I could do activism wise. I was like thinking like, oh, a petition at school or something. And then I came across vegan. I'm like, well, what's a vegan? And then I started reading all about it, and I was like, oh, sounds like something I've got to do if I'm against animals dying. And then I remember just checking the packets of everything at home and just being like, oh, no, I couldn't do this. There's too much I can't eat. And then I knew these products weren't vegan, so then I wouldn't actually eat them. I was like, oh no, I can't eat that though. And it just came like, oh crap, I'm going to have to go vegan. Then I spoke to my parents, but I remember telling them that because I was the only vegetarian in the house before that, and this was back in the day where no one who wasn't a vegetarian would ever eat vegetarian food, and they were just like, oh, but what about all the veggie food? And I was like, I'll eat what's left, and never did. So I think there was like veggie sausages that just stayed in the freezer for like 5 years that never ever got eaten. I wouldn't be able to tell you what last thing was. No.
Well, I think it serves her right for asking that question a little bit. So,
yeah. Did you have like a Last Supper or anything? I don't think vegans do that.
No, I don't think so. I mean, Romy's going to come back on the show to do a cook along in series 2. So I'll make sure I give you a call before that, and you can do an equally awkward question for her back.
Good.
So next week we've got a cook along with Copperconfetti. So I'm not going to interrupt her in the middle of her cook along and ask her a question, but I will ask whatever question you've got to Sarah from She's So Delicious, who's going to be on the week after, which we're very excited about. She does amazing books on bento boxes and all sorts of stuff, and she's a amazing food photographer as well. So have you got a question that we could ask Sarah the week after next?
Yeah, I was wondering, now that we're all online so much more, and when your job is kind of like being online, what is she doing to like really maintain the work-life balance? And yeah, I guess it's just now that so much of our lives are on social media as well as our work. So I want to know how she's coping and what she's doing.
Yeah, that's interesting because it's tricky, isn't it? When you're working in the same space that you're living, it's quite hard to draw those lines between when you're working and when you're not and stuff like that. So yeah, really, really good one. Okay, well, I think that's going to be it for us today. But I'm going to say thank you very much for being a really insightful and brilliant guest, and I think like so many people are going to be able to take lots away from your advice, so thanks so much for coming on.
Oh, no worries. Thank you so much for having me.
No probs. So you can check out Nicole on Instagram at Vegan Beauty Girl to find out more about what she's doing. So next week we have our first ever Just V Show chat cook along with Copperconfetti. Be ready to take notes and cook something amazing next Friday at 1 p.m. In the meantime, if you have any news, stories, tips, or questions for future guests, you can email them to us using the address info@f2fevents.co.uk or get in contact on social media. We can't wait to see you guys in the autumn. Get your tickets for London in the video description. But until next week, stay home and stay safe, everyone. Cheers, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.